Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Red Light Sports Ramble, presented by the Red Light Sports Network. I am Troy Otradovic, as always, joined by the marvelous Evan Watallison out in Wisconsin. Evan, today we have a very special guest coming in, Tyler Dunne, writer from the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, writes about the Packers. He is out covering Milwaukee Brewers baseball here in spring training. As we wait for Tyler to join us, I know yesterday we were talking about the tweet that was sent out. Jimmy Graham, 2 first-round draft picks. Have you changed your mind overnight, Evan, about why I don't think the Packers should do it?
No, I haven't changed my mind. I think it'd still be a good move to make. I think it'd still, greatly benefit the team, and I think it could even help them attract other free agents, too, that might want to come in because they're going to see what the Packers are trying to do. Now, I saw a report earlier today, and throw this back at you. So basically, we're still disagreeing on this. But another question is former Minnesota Viking defensive end Jared Allen had said that he wants to sign with a contending team. He's a free agent. He wants to sign with a contending team. He's a 4-3 defensive end, but he's a heck of a pass rusher. What does that thought do for you?
Well, exactly what you said. 4-3. Yeah, he's a 4-3 end. Can he adjust to the 3-4? Not sure. But he is one hell of a pass rusher. I'll give him that much, right? But I'm not sure if he can adjust to the 3-4 and what we need him to do there. It might, if the price was right, it wouldn't hurt to have a Jared Allen on the end of it. I'm not sure. And again, I've never had to make a transition from a 4-3 to a 3-4 other than, the scouting that I do by watching games and watching and listening and reading the transition that takes place. Some players can do it with no problem. Others have a problem doing it. Jared Allen is a professional. He can rush the passer. And if that's all we're going to ask him to do in the 3-4, then it might be worth taking a look at. So I would be okay looking at him. It's just how are we going to utilize him? I mean, he always disrupts the Packers. So I'm not ever going to question his talent. The only thing I would question is, can he make a transition from a 4-3 to a 3-4? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I pretty much have the same thoughts. I don't know how comfortably he'll be not having his hand in the ground. I don't know if he's not asking for a lot of money, then fine, sign him as a pass rush specialist only. I'm not going to put him out there like they were doing Mike Neal, for instance, last year. Putting him out there, having to defend the pass, defend the run, and rush the passer, do all the things that outside linebacker needs to do. I'm not doing that with him. If I sign him, it's strictly going to be in passing situations. He's going to go out there and rush the passer and do what he's been doing his entire career. But the question is, would he be willing to accept that role?
Exactly.
It'd be a heck of a pay cut if he accepts that role from what he possibly could get.
Right. I'm right there with you. I mean, that would be the big thing with him, because first off, like you said, the pass rushing ability, I have no question about that at all. And so it would be a specialist role in a 3-4, and that's not going to come with a big price tag that he may get going to a team that has him in a 4-3. Something to take a look at, though. I mean, depending on what Ted Thompson wants to do. Sticking with the Packers, and that's what we're going to talk with Tyler when he joins the show. The franchise tags and the transition tags, as we talked about yesterday with Jimmy Graham, I was looking at it. Monday was the deadline. The Packers made no move for Sam Shields. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think the Packers should have franchised or transitioned Sam Shields?
No, I don't think they should have. If they would have franchised him or transitioned him, they would have had to pay him a heck of a lot of money. I think we're looking at, I believe, $11 million for 1 year if they franchised him. And I don't know if you give him. He's a heck of a cornerback, and he has a ton of speed. But do you really give him money, and he's undersized too. You know, if you're paying him $11 million, he's got to be good enough to lock up with Calvin Johnson, lock up with Brandon Marshall, lock up with Ashawn Jeffrey, lock up with Greg Jennings and Cordero Patterson with the Vikings. You're playing those guys twice a year. And if you're getting $11 million for 1 year to have to cover those guys, he better be able to lock them up big time. But the last time, I know he was just coming back from injury, but the last time the Packers went up against Detroit, Calvin Johnson was killing Shields on those slant routes. Shields stood no chance. And if you look at the cornerback depth for Green Bay, everyone's saying how they have no depth. You're having Casey Hayward coming back, potentially, hopefully 100% healthy, coming back from that hamstring injury. You have Devon House, who's showing promise. He hasn't been the playmaker that you want yet, but he's showing promise. He's a physical corner. And you still have Tramon Williams. And if you draft a guy in the draft this year, which they might do early in the draft, you then could possibly move Micah Hyde out to safety. And then you have, the corner position is pretty loaded in the draft this year. There's a lot of good talent. So, losing Sam Shields, as much as people think, it's not going to be a season-ending blow. Shields is a good corner. He's got skills that none of the other corners currently have on the Packers, which is speed. But he could still, they can get by without him. I wouldn't have signed him for $11 million.
So, if I'm understanding, he is a free agent now. No transition, no franchise. Yep. So if he signed, let's say, a 4-year, $40 million deal, would you be okay with that? If they re-sign him for a long-term deal at that?
So that'll be, what, $10 million a year?
About that. And I just threw it out there because it was a nice round number. And basically what I want to know, Evan, if we sign him to a long-term deal for something around the range of the franchise tag or a little bit under, how would you feel about that?
I think we're overpaying him. Again, we're overvaluing him. If we're paying him $10 million a year, I don't think we should give him any more than $8 million a year. I don't think he deserves more than $8 million. And Rob Reschel, when he was on our show, he brought up the fact that how is Sam Shields going to respond now that he's making money? He's an undrafted free agent. He's had to earn everything he's gotten so far. Now, is he going to be, let's say, like an Aaron Rodgers that keeps that chip on his shoulder and goes in, day out, and busts his butt and showing that he's deserving of the money and deserving of the prestige that he now has? Or is he going to be like an Albert Hainsworth and grow comfortable? I got paid, now I'm just going to sit back and enjoy my money. I don't know Sam Shields personally, so I don't know what his personality is. But that'll be my concern. How is he going to respond to making $10 to $12 million a year?
And I'll chime in here. And I know one of our followers on the show and a friend of yours, Courtney King, I believe, had put the question out about Sam Shields. I don't think we can lose him, Evan. But I don't want to overpay him either. I'm with you on that. I don't want to overpay him. I know you're talking about depth at cornerback, but when I look at this, I know we have Williams coming back. If Hayward comes back healthy, I could see him as a replacement at corner because in his timeline...
Yeah, I hate to cut you off, but we have Ty coming on, so...
Wonderful. So I'm just saying...
Hey, Tyler?
Yes.
Hey, great for you to join us. I got, it's Troy and I here on the show. Great for you to join us.
Hey, yeah, thanks for waiting for me here. Sorry, in the clubhouse. Just jetted out real quick here.
Oh, that's great.
Brewers do.
Yeah, I tell you what, man, it is 85 and sunny down here. I don't even want to know what it's like back in Wisconsin. Heading back tomorrow morning.
I won't tell you then.
Yeah, why don't you, Tyler, I'm sure the people in Wisconsin, and actually, I'm out in PA, Evan's out in Wisconsin. Why don't you pack some of that nice warm air up in your suitcase, bring it back to Wisconsin. All the fans will love you then. They'll really read everything you're writing then. But appreciate you on the show today, Tyler. And I know Evan is going to ask you a burning question about the Packers that him and I disagree on. So I'm going to let you take it away, Evan.
Yeah, well, we were talking yesterday on the show. So I think it was Adam Scheffler had tweeted out regarding Jimmy Graham that the Packers and Seahawks should give up 2 first-round picks and sign him to a tender sheet, being that he's out franchised. And I think I would be happy with the move. Troy, not so much. What would be your thoughts if Thompson were to shock the world and make a move for Jimmy Graham?
Yeah, I would still be shocked if Ted Thompson did something like that, whether it's Jimmy Graham, whether it's Jarvis Bird, any of these big-name guys by any means. I just would be surprised if Thompson did it because I know he's about $30 million under the cap, but I still think it's going to come down to him looking 2 moves ahead with Randall Cobb and Jordy Nelson. That's probably a priority. I know Sam Shields and B.J. Raji are going to hit the market, but I wouldn't rule Shields out quite yet. So he's got a lot of the free agents of his own. Mike Neal, somebody who might get a little bit more money than people think. So I just think he still stays kind of within his comfort zone. And, yeah, he might sign a few guys. He's got the money to do it, but my gosh, I mean, you know how Ted Thompson values draft picks. I mean, he values a 4th or 5th round pick as much as anything. I would just be shocked if he did something like that with Jimmy Graham.
Yeah, I would be shocked too. We were actually just talking about Sam Shields when he came on and looking at, if they would have franchise tagged I believe it would have been like 11 or 12 million, and we're just kind of talking about where we feel his value is. Where do you value Sam Shields? Like, where do you think his value is at?
Right, that's a lot of money. I mean, even if it's 1 year, Packers clearly aren't going to spend that kind of money on Sam Shields. And boy, I had a chance to talk to some of the receivers across the league that Sam Shields has faced, and they really do think that he is, a top 10 corner, somebody who's got rare makeup speed, somebody who was a wide receiver in college who can make those plays on the ball that you need at the position. But he's not quite elite yet. I mean, that's kind of the consensus, whether it's receivers, scouts. Everybody just wants to see a little bit more out of Sam Shields and kind of hone his skills. I mean, if you give this guy a lot of money, is he still going to put in all of the hours that you need out of that player that makes that kind of money at that position? I mean, is he going to do what Richard Sherman does, what Darrelle Revis does? And I think that's the question, is what that Green Bay is kind of facing right now, and they might be a little reluctant just to give him a blank check. They'll probably pay a lot of money for Sam Shields, but he's going to go out and see what he can get on the market first. And it's just a matter of if there's a team out there, they'll give him that. And I don't know. I think it's still up in the air. I still think there's a chance he returns to Green Bay.
That leads me, Tyler, in what you're saying. Do you have any thought on what his market value is? Is it more around that $6 to $8 million, or do you think a team is going to take that chance? Like you said, I don't see the Packers going double digits, 10 or 11 million. I see him, and Evan and I are pretty much in agreement, $6 to $8 million, somewhere in that range. But do you see him in that range, or do you see a team going out there and throwing a lot of money at this? And I consider him still a prospect, like you said, because he hasn't played cornerback for that long. But where do you see his value, Ty?
Yeah, I think that I can see him in that eight range. I mean, that's probably a little high, but if I'm a GM, I'd pay him that kind of money because he's got the things that you can't teach. I mean, that play against Dallas that changed the game. I mean, the interception that kind of sealed the comeback there for Green Bay. I remember talking to Darren Woodson. He said that there's another cornerback in the league that can make that kind of a play. So he's got all the physical ability, all the athleticism, great hands. I think he's worth $8 million a year. I mean, that's just kind of me shooting from the hip here, and I think that a team would probably give him that. Now, Green Bay kind of complicates it is they have a lot of money going to Tramon Williams this year too. So you're talking about just a ton of money in your 2 top cornerbacks. Will Ted Thompson be willing to pay that much when he knows he has some younger guys, Casey Hayward, Devon House? They really like Nixon as a younger corner. They can always draft somebody. That's when it gets a little dicey. And the thing is, I thought that there'd be a first domino that kind of fell, whether it's re-signing another Dietrich Smith, not necessarily Finley, but maybe Neal, maybe Raji's tendered. We haven't seen that first domino fall. So Green Bay has a lot of money to spend and a lot of decisions to make, and Ted Thompson hasn't flinched, hasn't made a move quite yet. It's going to be a wild offseason, and I haven't seen that in my 3 years covering the team.
Now let's look at the NFL draft very quick. And I know you were down in Indianapolis. Was there anyone in particular that you think that McCarthy and Thompson are paying extra close attention to, or anyone that stood out to you in general that could be there for the 21st pick in the draft?
Boy, when we talk about waiting for that first domino, really keep an eye at safety. I mean, Green Bay, in a dream scenario, it probably would love to see Clinton Dix fall to them at that pick. Great size, ran a good 40. All of his drills, really the short shuttle, everything, he did a lot better than you'd expect. And in Alabama, he had to handle a lot mentally and run that defense, a pro-style defense under Nick Saban. So I think that Clinton Dix, if he somehow fell to 21, would be a great pick. But you look at these past few years and these safeties, these top safeties, they just rise at this point of the year. Mark Barron, he went a lot higher than we thought he would go in March. Kenny Vaccaro last year to New Orleans went very high. So he'll probably be out of Green Bay's range. And then you're looking at Calvin Pryor, hard-hitting player. They could really use his presence in that defense, somebody that will just hit you. A Cam Chancellor, kind of a player. He actually brought his name up at the Combine. But I do wonder with Pryor, I mean, he said this kind of unsolicited that he wants to be in a defense that just lets him be himself, to roam, not necessarily play as deep as the deepest, kind of do his thing, which is the complete opposite of what Darren Perry and all the coaches in Green Bay kind of tell us. They want somebody who's going to play within the defense and trust everything they're doing X's and O's wise. So I don't know if Pryor is necessarily a fit. We do know the safety is a need, and they have to add somebody this offseason.
Now, what about Deion Buchanan from Washington State talking about safeties? I'm sorry I just cut you off there, Troy, but he's one I heard tested really well at the Combine.
He did. He tested really well. I mean, pretty much every drill, he was at the top. And I think that had to surprise a few teams because in Washington State's defense, they didn't ask him to cover a ton. They didn't ask him to work in space and use his athleticism as much as some of these other safeties. I mean, I think he's physical and can bring that to the table near the line of scrimmage. But the fact that he did that at the Combine, I know it's just guys are running around in shorts and we kind of make too much of that. But for him specifically, he might have worked himself into that second-round discussion. Other players, Jimmy Ward, Northern Illinois, great Senior Bowl week. Had a chance to watch him in Mobile. He was named the most outstanding defensive back during that week of practice, so that's impressive. But it's really Clinton Dix, Pryor, and everybody else. And out of that everybody else, does Green Bay find a starter there? I don't know. I think it's a little dicey, which makes you think that maybe Thompson does look to free agency to fill that need.
And I was going to kind of go down that same road, is with, Dix and Pryor probably not being there at 21. And looking at our needs, where do you think that they might go in that first round, Ty? I mean, it's a pick, and I had just brought this up with Evan. Do you think this would be the draft, since it's so deep, that Ted Thompson, since he does value draft picks, might actually trade down if either of those safeties are off the board?
Maybe, but this is kind of an interesting predicament Green Bay has. I mean, they're a contender. They're a team that has Super Bowl potential, but they still have a lot of needs, and I think that they can find a starter with that pick. So I don't know. I don't know if Thompson would want to deal out of that. I mean, you're looking at a lot of really good tight ends. Chase Amaro, Texas Tech. I know he didn't test that well at the Combine, but he's a possibility. Austin Safarian Jenkins, medically kind of working through something. Maybe he's a possibility there. But, tight end, defensive line, Hagman out of Minnesota. He tested really well. He would seem to fit into a 3-4 defense. There's just so many possibilities at 21 that I still would be a little surprised if they got out of that spot.
Now, with possibility of James Jones leaving and with Nelson and Cabo free agents next year, we had a colleague of yours, Rob Russell, on the show a couple weeks back, and he was talking about maybe taking a wide receiver, possibly late first round or even in the second round. Do you think that's a move Thompson could make, as you said, thinking one or two moves ahead with that possibility happening?
Yeah, they really like Boykin, and Boykin did a lot of good things last year, so he's going to be in the picture. And out of Cobb or Nelson, they're not going to lose both of those guys, and there's a very good chance they're able to find room to keep both. So, I mean, those are three players you have, two at the worst. But this is such a strong draft for wide receivers, and probably one of the better receiver drafts this decade, really. I mean, there's just a ton of guys. Brandon Cooks, Oregon State. You can go Jordan Matthews, Vanderbilt. There's so many guys at that bottom half of the first round that are going to fall to Green Bay. Thompson's going to be tempted, and we know that this is a position he's hit on so many times. He's taken receivers in the first couple rounds when you didn't expect him to. It would not be a shock if he did something like that again. And, some of these receivers that, Green Bay's been talking to him at the Senior Bowl in the Combine, so they're getting a feel for these guys. Don't count out that. I mean, if they're going to go best available, that best available player might be a wide receiver.
And sticking right on the wide receivers, Ty, we talk about Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb, both becoming free agents. Do you think that they're going to try to extend either one of them this year before training camp to try and lock down at least that one player that we're talking about while we have the money under the cap? Or do you think they're going to let it play out and wait till next year and battle it after next season?
Yeah, that'd be pretty dumb if they waited on both of those guys. And gosh, if they're going to do it with Morgan Burnett, you have to do it with Cobb or Nelson. I mean, it's not a problem that the Packers or those receivers are going to want to fester, through a contract year. So, yeah, I'd be really surprised if they didn't prioritize one of those guys, if not both of them, and got something done. Now, Cobb's going to ask for a lot, and Nelson, he has every right to ask for a lot of money, too. And, I know he's said the right things when he's been put on the spot about signing his last 3-year deal. He really shouldn't have done that. I mean, in 2011, such a career year, a breakout year for Jordy Nelson, and he signed it made him the 27th highest paid receiver at the time. 3 years, something like $11 million. That's chump change for the position. And that following offseason, you saw Vincent Jackson cash in, Stevie Johnson, Robert Meacham. He's going to remember that, and he's going to want to cash in now with this deal because it's really his last chance to get a lot of money. It's going to be tough for Thompson in that negotiating room to make both happen, but you have to prioritize both.
Yeah, I totally agree with you that we got him at such a steal last time, and he's kind of one of those guys that goes underappreciated, and he's a guy that, you look at it, he's just the guy that makes plays. And like you said, you got all of these other receivers that are in the same class as him that are making 3 times the amount of money that he is. So you cannot get mad at the man for wanting his money because he does deserve it. With the numbers that he puts up and the security blanket that he is for Aaron Rodgers, he has every right to demand that money.
He does, yeah, and he does, and he's going to do it. He likes living in Green Bay. I mean, gosh, he was in the ad for Wisconsin Tourism, the commercial. So he likes it here, and he probably would like to stay in Green Bay, stay with Aaron Rodgers. Their chemistry is pretty uncanny, and that both of these players they felt what Greg Jennings did, and he took a lot more money and played with a lesser quarterback. It didn't work out, so there's going to be a little back and forth here, and it's just a matter of kind of finding that right dollar amount.
Now, you brought up the name when you're talking about guys that they extended early in Morgan Burnett. Now, he obviously was part of the reason why safety is such a huge need, is he had a year that I don't think anyone was expecting him to have. Now, I know he was injured late in training camp with that hamstring. Did that have anything to do with his issues when he finally got back on the field, or is there something else that was bugging him?
Burnett, right?
Yeah, Morgan Burnett.
Yeah, the thing is, we don't know if this is a playmaker. I mean, the last 2 years, his only 2 interceptions were gift wrap from Christian Ponder. So I think the verdict's out. I mean, we know this is a guy who knows the defense, who, for the most part, is in the right place at the right time, is a pretty good tackler, and he was young. So Thompson, and he's done this with a lot of players, he tries to think 2 steps ahead, pay that player a dollar amount that he perceives as probably less than what he'll command down the road. I mean, he did it with Nelson to a T. He's tried to do it with a lot of different players. So with Burnett, probably didn't work out. At least in year one, it didn't. They need more out of him. They need him to be a playmaker. 0 interceptions from your safety group for a full season. I mean, that's just unheard of. The only team in the league. The only time it's happened with the Green Bay Packers as a franchise since as far back as you can go in the record book, at least the 50s. They have to get something out of him, and they didn't get it. So I don't think that the injury is really an excuse as much of they just don't know if this guy is a playmaker, and they need him to be very soon.
Yeah, Ty, I basically called our safety play horrific last year. I mean, it just seemed like Burnett was step slow, step behind, looked like he had no clue what was going on out there. Ever since Nick Collins left, I mean, that's when he was making his plays. You know, I've just seen his play decline. My question for you is I really like Micah Hyde, you know, and I like what he did as a rookie. But when I see him as a cornerback, I think it's the same thing in my mind. I'm not sure if Micah Hyde is best suited at corner. Personally, I think a move to safety might be a good move. What are your thoughts on Micah Hyde? Do you think he could make a transition to safety play?
That's what they're going to try. You know, in so many words, Mike McCarthy kind of said that, you know, whether it's corner, safety, whatever the position is, they want Micah Hyde on the field. So, I mean, you look at the roster, you have Casey Hayward coming back. He's best as a slot cornerback. Maybe he does move outside if Shields leaves, but, you know, that's his best spot where Charles Woodson was such a playmaker. So if that's where Hayward is, okay, well, then where does Micah Hyde fit in? They try him out at safety if that's how everything kind of happens this offseason. He's physical, probably the best tackler in the secondary. You know, didn't make a lot of plays on the ball at Iowa, and obviously he dropped a big interception against San Francisco in the playoffs. So, you know, who knows if he's that much of a playmaker, but he has to be at least the playmaker, if not better than John McMillan, M.D. Jennings, Chris Banjo, whoever they had back there. So they're going to try everything, and I think that what it all boils down to is they want Micah Hyde on the field, and they want defensive players on the field who can handle a multitude of responsibilities. He is exactly case in point of what Mike McCarthy was talking about at the Combine.
Well, looking at the time we have left, I know you got to get back to the game. We got about just under 2 minutes left in the show. Being down in Arizona, talk Brewers really quick. How's the reaction been down there for Ryan Braun? I heard it's been pretty positive for the most part.
Yeah, it kind of depends on the ballpark. You know, we're at Maryvale, their home stadium here in Phoenix, and boy, he was getting a lot of cheers, hit another home run. The guy is on fire. He's 6'7", just hitting everything. On the field, the Brewers couldn't ask for more, and he seems to say that he's been blocking everything out, and boy, he's heard it. I can't remember which ballpark we were at. It's all kind of blurring together, but one of their road games here, gosh, they were booing him throughout the stadium, and it was just a roaring 75-25 negative reaction to Ryan Braun stepping to the plate. So he's going to hear it. I mean, if he's hearing it in spring training down here, low-stress kind of environment, he's going to be hearing it during the games that actually count. And so far, he's stepped up. I mean, he's looked really good here.
That's awesome to hear. So I know it's early in spring training time, and I know, you know, we're just getting the games underway, but is there anybody that's really standing out early in spring training for the Brewers?
Ricky Weeks, a guy who couldn't hit the ball well for stretches last season. He's looked really good. The ball's coming off of his bat with a lot of pop. So that's a good sign for Milwaukee. You know, in that whole competition with Scooter there at second base, I mean, it's looking like Weeks right now. At first base, I mean, Juan Francisco, he's really hitting the ball well from Milwaukee, a power hitter. We talked to teammates. They say he's got about as much power as anybody in the league. You know, as far as him in the infield, he was working at third base today, and, boy, he just doesn't really move that well. So if they can somehow find a spot for him on the roster, you think they'd like to have him around because of his power, but Overbay and Reynolds, both a lot better fielders at first base. So we'll see what happens, but he's definitely a player that stood out.
Well, once again, thanks for taking the time to join us, Ty. Enjoy your, time you have left in Arizona because it's, about 20 degrees here right now. So enjoy the time you got left out in Arizona. And, I'd love to have you back on again. It's been a pleasure.
Hey, well, thanks so much for having me, and I apologize for the late call in there, confusion there, but to be here. But thanks so much, guys. We'll do it again.
Oh, yeah, we will, Ty, especially around draft time. We'll definitely
Awesome.
get you on and talking Brewers. Evan and I love Wisconsin sports, so thanks for coming on again, Ty. We'll let you get back to the game. We appreciate it.
All righty. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Well, with that
Thank you,
said,
too.
Evan, I'll fill the fans in that tomorrow it'll be the first time in the Red Light Sports Network history that there's only going to be one voice on the radio tomorrow, Evan, and it's going to be you, because 99% sure that I'm not going to be making it because of the real job. So tune in tomorrow, everyone. Evan will have a special surprise for you. He's going to put together a great show for you. But, Evan, you're going to do a great job tomorrow, bud. I wish I could be there.
Yeah.
I'll try to join the show, but like I said, real job is calling. District manager and myself meeting. It's not one of those things that I can rearrange. So, best of luck to you tomorrow, but I know you don't need it. I know you'll wow the listeners. But with that said, do you have anything else to say today?
No, nothing left for today, but tomorrow, just heads up, it's going to be, talking probably a lot of baseball tomorrow. So if you like baseball, want to call in and give your 2 cents in on the upcoming baseball season, give a call in. And I'm going to do my best tomorrow.
You'll
Hope
do
I don't
great,
burn
buddy.
the studio down.
Well, maybe the crazy lady will guide you around. So, I won't be
Hopefully
on.
she's nice to me. She doesn't like you, but hopefully she's nice to me.
Yes, she does not like me one bit. But with that said, everyone, we hope you enjoyed the show today. Our thanks again to Tyler Dunne, writer from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, joining us today, talking Packers, talking a little bit of Brewers. With that said, everyone, we'll see you at the next red light. Evan will get back at you tomorrow. Enjoy the show tomorrow, everyone. Have a great night.